In the last episode, we worked this grass field over to go from $0 to almost $25,000. This time, we're going to add to that account total and try to get the $36,000 we need to invest in a small sawmill. The problem is, we may need it as early as next month. We're picking up where we left off last time after having mowed and baled the field. We're going to wrap the grass bales for more silage and roll the field like usual. But I'm in a little time crunch. Maybe. What I want is to have the sawmill ready to go the first month that the lodgepole pines fully mature. It's best for our farm if we can get a sawmill producing beams and planks as soon as possible. The sawmill's going to increase the value of the raw wood by quite a bit, but the small sawmill is slow, so the sooner we can get it going, the better. We're also a good $11,000 short of what we need, at least. The lodgepole pines might mature as early as next month in November, but I'm hoping it'll be more like January, where we can sell this silage after it ferments and have plenty of money. So we'll finish getting this wrapped, then move on to the next job. There, the wrapping is all done. Let's take one of the leftover bales over to keep at the goat pen for later. The goats will be getting hungrier as they get older, so we need to start keeping a stockpile of food, which is hay or grass. Right now, it's raining, even though the weather is sunny like it shows up on the forecast at the top. It gives us a chance, though, to admire the watery mud on the tires. Let's push out the last bale from the crazy Anderson wrapper and park it illegally on what's probably county property and do the last chore on the field, which is to rent a roller and improve the grass yield. All right, that's the last action we need to take on the field all the way until spring. The grass will go dormant over the winter, so we'll turn our attention to do some other things, which is another reason to get the sawmill. I know, it sounds like I'm a little obsessed with getting this sawmill, which is actually exactly like it is. I am hyper-focused on the sawmill and getting it as soon as we can, one way or another. We'll click over here into November, and I have to say, it's a beautiful, crisp morning. The question that will dictate everything is whether or not the lodgepole pines have grown. And the answer is, they have not, which is slightly relieving because I didn't want to have to do anything desperate like cutting down more trees to raise what is now about $14,000. The goats look full and happy, and I'm also glad to see they've started producing their second pallet of goat milk. I'm sure we're going to notice the revenue boost from the goat milk soon, once they get old enough to get into high production. But right now, I'm very pleased with having the one full pallet. We'll complete the day and get into December. As far as the trees go, since they didn't mature in November, I think January is our next best bet. I just don't think it's going to be December. Let's see. Yes, I was right. Same as before, which means January for full maturity is what we should plan for. We've been storing up a nice supply of mushroom pallets to sell coming up here in January, and I can tell the goat milk production has definitely kicked up some. Let's grab the water tanker that we have on permanent lease. We don't own it. Fill it at the river, where I've come to really like the reedy looking bank, and top off the animals with some water. All our winter products, the goat milk, the enoki mushrooms, the oyster mushrooms, will all be at the best price to sell next month in January, which is kind of giving me an idea. I had said I was going to sell the silage to get what'll be about $15,000 more for the sawmill. But what if the mushrooms and goats alone would be enough to cover the costs? It would certainly be a statement on the growth of the farm. Let's check on the trees. Yes, I believe they are looking much more stately. Those ones with the dead branches have also filled out. 36 meters. That should be their full height. Stepping back, it's certainly a nice stand of pines. It's time to sell off the mushrooms and probably the goat milk and see if our productions can bring in the sawmill money. We'll drop off the trailer, buy the mushroom house, and put on the pallet fork and get loading. Okay, I've loaded the enoki first, and we'll sell those separately from the oyster mushrooms. The same place will buy both, but I get a little better price by selling the enoki at the farmer's kiosk and the oysters usually at the Riverside restaurant, though that's not always true. Over 6,000. That's what we'd expect. We'll grab the oyster mushrooms and see what they bring in. I keep checking in here on this field from Ben. This is the next field I'd like to buy. I'm just hoping that when we can afford it, its condition is really good, and maybe even has a crop we can harvest and immediately sell. But back to the mushroom loading. We need our money. All right, that's 6 pallets of oyster mushrooms, which should bring in close to 6,000. Let's see. Yes, almost 6,000. That gives us 33,700 in the account, so all we have to do is sell that 1 pallet of goat milk and we can get the sawmill. This is major for the farm. Our first pallet of goat milk is being sold, and it comes at a time where just that little extra boost in revenue is all we need. It's like the goats have already come in with the clutch move for the farm. It's also the first time we're selling to the dairy. That's perfect. A little over 36,700. Let's buy and place our sawmill immediately. I've already scoped out the spawn and loading points for the sawmill, the topography of the land, and all that. And I've decided right here on this corner next to the bridge will be its home. I'm also doing it differently than the goat pen. I'm turning free mode on, so it'll blend in more with the slope of the land. There, we've got a little dirt that's washed in on the uphill side, but the spawn trigger looks perfect, and I don't think we'll have any trouble getting wood loaded. Before I do anything else though, we'll do some aesthetic modifications. I'll use the landscape painting tool and brush in a little bit of muddy dirt just to blend it in and make some softer curves. True, I'm destroying a bit of the grass field, but it should be okay. Alright, I'm reasonably happy with that. It's a fairly smooth arc around the field. That one corner is a bit off the ground, which can happen in free mode, but when the grass grows up around it, I bet you hardly notice. Now, for what I've been waiting on for a long time. Getting a couple trees cut down and loaded into the sawmill for processing. I'm trimming up the branches even though it's not super necessary if you're going to put them straight into your own sawmill. But it's also very easy with these evergreens, so we'll do it for the sake of having nice, clean timber to move. I also had a good viewer talk about getting a winch to just drag them over, and I had thought about that. But I have a log fork, and they're real easy to move, so for now, I'll just move them over with the fork. I think if I had a big sawmill, I'd have to get the winch, because it would probably gobble up several trees per day. With this small sawmill though, 1 tree a day is probably all I'll have to move, at most. Alright, we've got some wood in there, let's turn on the production for everything. regular planks, long planks, and wood beams. We'll have it make everything. We'll throw one more tree in there and let the sawmill do its thing. With that going, we'll roll over into February and take care of a few chores. The first little fiddly bit is to put these little wedges I've been holding on to into the sawmill. They drop sometimes when cutting down the trees and get in the way, so we might as well put them to use. Now, here with the goats, I couldn't be more pleased. We have another pallet of goat milk already, and the animals have definitely grown. It's not just my imagination. This February is going to be a nice, productive, and lucrative winter day. We have all our silage to sell that we didn't even have to touch to get the sawmill. The price for silage is almost always good somewhere on the map, which makes it a great product to sell whenever it's convenient. We'll get all this loaded and sold and get out of our little $25 debt. Okay, I took a little side quest after that first load to do repairs and refuel the tractor. Keeping up with regular repairs seems to incur a lower cost, so with the tractor taken care of, we can get back to business. Nice. That's 2 more loads, bringing our account balance up to near $18,000. We've also still got that 1 pallet of goat's milk. And while the price is still very good here in February, we'll load that up and get it sold. I had a small issue before getting the pallet loaded approaching from the side, so we'll do it the easy way, from the flat surface. I should try to do just a little landscaping with this raised bump and smooth it out, but for now, we'll just deal with it. I don't mind it that much, but it's not ideal. The dairy gave us another $3,000 for the pallet, further improving our account to almost $21,000. I'm not gonna lie, it feels amazing to have just bought a $36,000 sawmill in January, and now here in February, we're already up to around $21,000. And things are only going to keep improving from here. Once the goats are fully grown and we start selling lumber off the sawmill, we'll have some recognizable cash flow, which I believe will allow us to start buying more land, better equipment, and a whole lot more. In the next episode. Subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss what happens, and I'll see you in the next one.